Hello everybody, this is Max Farrow from DexFXMarkets.com. In this video today, we're going to be talking about the slippage variance input with our Xedan tool. Let's get started. Okay, let's get into the know. We're going to be talking about slippage. We're going to be talking about the limit order over on Nadex. We're talking about the market order over on Nadex, and how to use our slippage variance tool and what it's designed to do. Just so you know, a couple of months ago, we had some traders notice an issue with a process called slippage. The technical term slippage is used mostly in Forex, but it can happen here at Nadex too. And the definition is slipping refers to the difference between the expected price of a trade and the price of which the trade is executed. I push the button at one price and it shows up as a different price. Now over on Nadex, there's two ways to execute an order. The first one being a market order and the other is a limit order. Slippage can affect both, but in two different ways. In the limit order, the majority of all of our orders are limit orders when we have our signal. You get over to the site, the price isn't where you want it at, so you put an order in hoping that it'll get to that point. It hits that limit and places the trade, also called a working order. Now the market order is a little bit easier. It places a trade into the market at the current price no matter what it is. You get over there and it's $51 for a sell. You push the button, it comes up as $51. It's going to, as soon as you push the button, price can still change a little bit. So you may push it when you see 51, but then you get over there and it's like 50. Okay, so that's a sort of like a technical term of slippage on how fast the market's moving, but the slippage value really does sort of adversely affect our limit order process. Now, slippage for our DEX delta signals is a little bit different. This really only happens at the beginning of the trade hour. We're going to make an example here. We're going to use a sell. We're going to use it at $45 market price, which means that we want to at least make $45 in profit. Okay. On the sell side, whatever number you're putting in is the profit side you want to do. When you're doing a buy side, that would be the opposite of this. If you want to make $45, you would put 55 on the other side. And when we enter this trade, normally when we make this trade, we are using a limit order since the market price is probably not the number yet, right? Like we talked about. So the system places the trade and goes into the working order section. But what happens if when the signal fires at the top of the hour and the market price is better than the 45, which usually means that the price is coming to at the money, right? So maybe the market's going against our trade or our concept of our signal and direction. So it's probably at a little better price. And let's say that's $67, right? Now we're like $20 more. This means that this is referred to as an OTM, out of the money trade. So using a limit order may work, but in some cases it will not fill since the market may be moving too fast. So this is really good. The majority of times that $67 would fill, right? Because usually the market is traveling in a particular direction, and that direction, if on a sell, is going up, the more it goes up at that point, right? If it's going against us, right, here's where our sell is. If it's going against us here, if the market continues to go up, then great. But sometimes the market may go up, working what we put in the limit as soon as the trades happen, and then all of a sudden it goes up, hits that mark and goes back down. So it tried to do it at here, but we'll see what happens, right? It gets put in. Let me turn the thing off here. Okay. So the example in our system is to set it at 45. The market price is at 67 on the sell. The working order goes on at 67. Okay. So that means that the market at the top of the hour, the market had already hit, if this is say 1 p.m. Oh, this is really bad to write with this thing. At 1 p.m., the market goes in, but the price is already sitting at $67, right? But because we're in for a sell, here's where our $67 goes in. It says at 67, but then the market starts to pull back. Okay. Now, this also happens at in trading manual as well. So the price comes up when you're manually trading. You go put a working order, say I want 45, and it's at 67, right? So your working order is at 67, or your limit order says 67, and then it bounces down and goes and hits 66. What happens then? your limit order goes to working order because now it's at 67 and it goes in a working order at 67. Now, the market sometimes just won't come back up to get that 67 bought, so it goes in as a working order and never gets filled. This has happened to us maybe 6 or 7 times since when we were running DEX Delta signals. So it's not a lot, okay? And I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but for those that are in the know that what I'm saying is a case of something that can happen. Now, how do we combat this process? Well, even if you were to be watching it and you see the signal come over and it's at 67 but doesn't get filled, you can go in and adjust. That's the manual process. You can go in and adjust your trade. But in our Xedan system, we have to kind of augment it a little bit. And so here's what we're going to do, what we have done already. In update 2.7, we created the signal, the slippage variance input. And with our new slippage variance input, we can decide on how to proceed. So our Xedan will now look at the market price. And if it's at a certain amount over our set price in our input, in our case, $45 for the sell, it will place a market order now instead of a limit order. And what does this mean? It means that when the market, if we're in for our sell, and we're in for $45 here at this point, and the market comes in and it's going against us, and when the signal fires, it's at $67 profit, okay? It's the signal variance system when it's set, in our case would be like $2 over 45, so that would be 47. Anything over $47 that would be in that profit zone would get turned to a market order, okay? If it's at 45 or 40, if it's at 46, it won't put a market order, put a limit order on, right? So then that way it would get filled at 45. So in this case, at $67, what would happen? Well, it would go from a limit order to a market order. And only in this one time will it do this and then place the order. It would either be at 67 or 68. It's going to put the best price possible at that moment, right? And that's really important because that's going to make that decision for us, okay? It's going to make the decision that when the signal first fire, if the price is, if we have our SVI set at $2, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, then anything over 47 is going to get turned to a market order and it's going to go in immediately, right? Instead of a limit order, because if it goes in a limit order and the market moves a dollar or two, it's going to put that limit order on and it's not going to get filled, okay? In this particular case, things can still kind of go wrong, right? One thing to watch is that if the slippage input variance is set to dollar, so if you have a 1 in there, that's $1 over the whatever you have it set for. So if you have it set at 45, that $1 would be 46. Okay. Now, if there's still going to be slippage, this is not going to eliminate slippage, but this is going to eliminate the problem of slippage not fulfilling some of the contracts that we have, right? So if it falls below, let's just say that you put it at 46, okay, and you fall and the market falls below to 43, it's going to fill at a market order if you have it set to $1. If you go to 47 or $2 over the price, it would could possibly still fill at 45 if the market was falling fast. This is a rare incident, right? So things can still happen. You may have one that could fill for 43 or even less if the market's really, really moving fast. All right, so you got to pay attention to this process. And if you do have one that does that, this is the price to kind of pay for having the system. We haven't had one fall down below yet. The default set to 2 for a reason, because we feel that that's a pretty good safe road to never hit your 43 or you always hit your 45. Okay, that's if you're doing the 45-55 for Xedan. All right. Now, so let me throw the example in for the buy. Now for a sell, it's 45 and to 47, but on a buy, remember that's the risk amount. So we're going to go from, if we have it set for 2, then it would fill for 53 or lower, right? So if the price on the market price is at 53 or lower, it would put a market price in and not a limit order. Okay, so it just goes the opposite direction. All right, so over in your Xedan system, you'll go to your settings, you'll scroll down, and just above the trade pair settings here, you'll see it says the slippage amount. It's set to 2. You can set it down to 1 if you want. I wouldn't set it anything lower than that. You can't really set anything lower than that anyway, but this will get you started with that process and should cover everything with that solution. All right. Again, and I can't stress this enough, this really happens rarely, and it's not to be rampant thing here that we're going to be dealing with all the time. The SVI should have taken care of this completely, but I want you to keep an eye on it. Let us know if there's any problems. That if you do get any higher than profit stuff, that it's gotten filled, that it's taken and done its job one way or another, and we'll keep an eye on this together. I'm Max Farrow. This is DexFXMarkets.com. Thanks for your attention here. This is a little bit complicated system to talk about, but I think we kind of got it. If you need more explanation, reach out to one of us and we can help explain it better.